Okay, seriously, if I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me about these brush pens, I would be super rich, but I've never even tried them. Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and in this video, I'm gonna be testing Camlin Brush Pens. I get asked about these all the time, mostly from my followers in India, because I hear that they're a lot easier to find there. I had never seen them here in Canada, but I tracked them down on Amazon and I ordered some for myself so that I can review them and let you guys know what I think. I haven't even cracked the package open yet, so you're gonna see my real thoughts as they happen in real time. Let's just jump right into it. Okay, so here's the package. This is the 24 set. I know they also come in smaller sets, I think 12 and 6, but I thought if I'm gonna go and do it, I might as well go big, you know? So I'll just open this up. All right, so looking at them right off the bat, without even opening the pens yet, I'm just impressed by kind of the shades that they have, all the different colors. I often like to buy sets of pens that come with different shades of similar colors so that I can do fun blending without it being like too tacky or anything. So I have high hopes already right off the bat. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna test these out on some marker paper first. So I just have some Canson XL marker paper. I want to try it on this first. And I know that these pens, just based on the packaging, it says that they are, you can use them with water. So you can make kind of like a watercolor effect. So I want to try them on marker paper first, just to see how they work as a brush pen. And then I'm going to try them on some Hotpress watercolor paper and try it with some water. Okay, so let's start out with my favorite color, black. Real exciting, I know. As soon as I pull the pen cap off, I noticed that this is a pretty big brush tip, even though the pen is not that huge. And if you know anything about brush calligraphy, you know that the bigger the tip of the pen, usually the more flexible and the harder it is to use for beginners. So we're gonna see if that's true, but I have a feeling it will be with these, and I have a feeling that I'm gonna wanna write fairly large with these to make it work. Okay, yeah, they're really flexible. Yeah. I would never recommend to write very small with these, because even writing as big as I am right now, they're still a little bit too flexible. Like I would want to write even bigger than I am right now to make it work properly. They're really juicy. That's really fun. They're probably really great for blending and for using water with them. But yeah, I would write a little bit bigger than this even. I wonder if you can see how juicy that is. If you can see like the sheen on it, there we go. Yeah, so they're really juicy, which is nice. I like that in a brush pen, so that's a plus for sure. But I would say that if you're a beginner, they might be a little bit tricky for the upstrokes. You can see that even on some of mine here, they were a little bit shaky. So I'm gonna write a little bit bigger for the next one, see how I do. So with these, you would want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough pressure on the page on your upstroke to make your upstroke not super shaky. It's definitely better when I press harder, or when I write bigger, sorry. They're pretty much what I expected, honestly, like a pretty significantly sized tip, and they're, you know, pretty flexible. But overall, the colors are really pretty so far. Obviously, I'm not going to test all 24 on camera with you guys. That would take me forever, but the colors of the ones I've tested are pretty, and the juiciness of them is lovely. It sort of does similar to what like Caran brush pens do, if you've ever used those. When you press really hard, it lets out a lot of ink, and then closer to the bottom, it gets lighter. So it sort of looks like an automatic ombre effect, which is really nice. So far, so good on paper. My only concern is if you wanted to ever write smaller, these would be really hard to use. So if you're going to use these brush pens, just make sure that you're writing big, or if you're using workbooks like mine that I have that are scaled for small pens or big pens, make sure you choose the big pens option, and even then it might still be a little bit tricky with these pens. Now I want to try it on some watercolor paper. So I've pulled out a piece of hot press watercolor paper. The reason I'm using hot press is because it's less gritty. If you use brush pens on cold press watercolor paper, it'll sort of ruin your brush pens over time. I'm just gonna try a couple little strokes with these pens and then smush it with water and see what happens. And now I'm going to take my Pentel Aqua Pen. It's just a brush pen that you can fill with water, and you can squeeze out some water on the top over here and just kind of like test it on the brush pen. Okay, so it's definitely usable with water. It almost looks like I'm continuing to use the brush pen here, but it's just getting like less intense, which is really fun. You can do a lot of really cool techniques with that, so I do like that about these pens. And you would be able to do some really cool blending with this as well. So it runs really nicely in water, which means that you could really, like, you could write a word with just water with a brush pen like the one I'm using here, the Pentel Aqua, and then you can use these Camlin brush pens and just kind of like dip it in and make some cool, really cool effects. The last thing I want to try is blending. So I'm gonna write out the word hot in yellow first. Just really basic on the page. You want to write it with the lighter color first. And then I'm going to take the red and I'm going to add a little bit of red here in the bottom. Just kind of doodle it on there. You don't need much. And then I'm going to take my Pentel Aqua Pen again, and I'm going to see how well these colors will blend together with the Camlin Brush Pens. So starting at the bottom, kind of dipping into this red and pulling it up towards the top, and they blend really nicely. I'll be honest, it doesn't look like, some brush pens end up looking kind of like it makes the paper pill, and you just have to do too much mushing around to make it look good, but right off the bat these are blending really nicely. So I would definitely give them a high score on blendability. Is that a word? Blendability? It must be, right? So yeah, this is a really fun technique with these pens. If you have them, I would give it a try. And yeah, I think overall my feelings on these pens are that they are fun. They would do well for watercolor techniques and painting kind of techniques, but I wouldn't use them for like brand new beginner practice, just because they're so flexible. And personally, I'm pretty heavy-handed. I don't like a super flexible pen. I like a little bit more of a rigid tipped pen. And a lot of beginners feel the same way. So if you're brand new at this, these might not be the very best option. But at the same time, if these are your only option for brush pen where you live and you can't find anything else, I think they're totally acceptable. They will work. They're definitely what you need to learn modern calligraphy, which is a flexible pen. And so if these are your only option, definitely go for it. I think they're fun. I would just be mindful of A, making sure you're writing really big, and B, making sure you use the right paper, because I've used pens that are similar to these Camlin brush pens, and just from experience, I know that this shape of brush pen is more likely to fray. So that means when it starts to get all like jagged and it doesn't give you a perfect upstroke, and that happens A, from use over time, but B, when you use it on the wrong paper. So make sure you use it on the right paper, and I'll link to a video about paper in just a second. But first, if you found this video helpful, if you like reviews like this, I would love it if you would just hit the thumbs up button down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I put out 2 new videos every single week. But yeah, I want to link you to my next video that I think will be helpful for you if you're in this boat, and that is which exact papers you should be using for modern calligraphy. So I'll link you to that next, and I'll see you over there.